Okay, so let's explore our core awareness today. So I want you to have your bolster on a bit of a ramp. So you make a spine ramp, and you can use a blanket or a block underneath your bolster so it's kind of tipped up. I use a rolled up blanket, or you could use a thick beach towel. That's fine too. I think most beach towels, I guess, are supposed to be thick. And then as you put the blanket on top, I think that's important to have something on top of your bolster. Even if you don't end up using this much height underneath your head, you can always kind of unfold it because we don't want more of that roundedness in our neck, pretty much at all. Okay, I don't know anyone that wants more rounded upper spine. So take a couple blocks, place them high up on the sides of the upper leg, and when the knees move out, give yourself a sort of balance where your sacrum is touching to the bolster. And I did read that this is often taught with the sitting 3 inches in front of the bolster, so I found that kind of curious. So I'm not sure if anyone finds that useful. I think when you lower back, your spine probably does push down. So let's explore that. So get a belt, buckle it up, make it into a big loop. And as you place the belt around your hips, you're this is a hip opener. So as I reach the belt loop around my feet, I pull so the buckle is going to be near my upper leg. It doesn't need to be at your hip, but you want to be able to get to the buckle when it's time. And then sometimes I'll slide the belt so it's a little bit farther out on my feet. It's not necessarily right on my foot. It's like on my ankle. Certainly my heels touch without a belt on the heels. It's kind of important to know, I think. So as we analyze things, we have sand for some of us. If you don't have sand, don't worry. Sand is always an option to add. But be sure your belt is pretty tight, and you can feel that as you lower back, it's beginning to feel a lot like hip awareness, okay? So the sand can come along when you're ready. Some of us might have already placed the sand across our feet, horizontal. Some may decide, no sand, thanks, some other time. And some might place it from the heart to the belly. I think from the across the ribs works, but I tends to fall down for me. I just don't find that my ribs are able to hold the sand as well as some others. You know, we're all different, right? We have not necessarily like size wise, but as far as our ability to create that movement in the ribs, moving outwards. So we want the front ribs to spread horizontally. You know, I think I just maybe have a little ways to go on that. Okay, and that's okay. I got a little bit of time to work on it. So let your arms move open. Be sure that the blocks are okay. Like if it feels like they're jabbing you, just slide them either a little bit down so you can feel how the legs adapt to blocks. Okay. Maybe after all, a couple of toilet paper rolls would be better, huh? Sometimes they do push a bit. Why not add more props, huh? Even add them to your blocks. So I'm going to try to actually resist a little bit. So push down with my feet. So I like this where the bones of my heels, I can feel them in a contour. So my feet kind of lift a little bit. And as the arms stretch open, you can move your blocks at any time. Fidgeting is okay. But see if you can just find the moments here to respect the beginning of your practice. Maybe relaxing your eyes and feeling the length of the inhalation. And relax on the out breath. Just simply receiving your breath. Relax on the out breath. And just beginning the body meditation, which is via the shapes. So each of the shapes gives us an opportunity to feel a different way to stretch the breathing muscles, to strengthen the spine, the lungs. It's okay to be pretty relaxed with it, so you can just feel how the sort of motion occurs, how you sort out motion with your breath. And the sand might feel like it's oppressive. Sometimes it's just, geez, this weight, don't want it now. So you can always slide it off and just feel the movement, kind of elegance of the breath without pressure. It's used to really have some resistance for strength, strengthening your breathing muscles, but you know, there might be times when psychologically you ain't gonna stay with it. So let the shoulders center back. Now train the focus here to wake up the awareness in this center line of the body. You know, when we consider core, we're considering so many areas that it's not just that abdominal kind of front layer. It's probably going to be back layers, side layers, right, need to be integrated. So just kind of noticing, scanning the sensation of that middle, right? We wouldn't think our core would be at our brain, right? But we do have a whole lay of the land in the center to work with, and it's organ wise. There's organs in that area, so we want to be careful, right, at the pressure we apply with our movements. So if it's adaptable for you, let your arms reach a little bit up from the ground. They can go to the sides, okay? You can also keep them to the sides, but stretch them back. So find that you work evenly with the arms. So if you lift them up and start to reach them back, you only go as far as you can feel, okay, my shoulders are back, chest is open. So for instance, if I go, okay, I'm gonna go fully reaching and move my hands together, it starts to grip up my pecs a bit, well, reasonably, right? It's gonna create some resistance, but see if you can keep the pecs, this chest upper range, open. Okay, shoulders are trying to settle back versus hiking up to your ears. How about that be your edge? If your shoulders are hiking up, don't let the shoulders take a hike to your ears. So that's like your limit. Okay, and you have armpit chest area to work with that stretch. Okay, now relax the hands down. So easy to do that. Okay, slide the sand away, and let's just play a bit with alternating patterns with arms and legs, even from this viewpoint of being on a bolster. So you're going to unbuckle. So we start with that lay of the land in the front, and then just let the blocks be to the side. You can just push them a little bit out. But I want you to bring your feet a little wider than hips distance, and then let the knees swish to the right, let the arms reach to the left. Okay, and then opposite. Okay, so if you're not sure what is she doing there, what is this about? So you're on your back with a bolster. You don't have to sit up like me, but so you're going side to side, but you're on your back, so you have the spine supported. So when your knees go to the left, your arms go to the right, and the coordination, I think, is a little bit, I actually really like it. When I tilt, if your blocks are bugging you, just push them farther out, but don't get rid of them. So when you tilt, I want your arms to actually try to reach over. So you twist a bit with your head turning to the side, and then reach over. Okay, probably the top of the thigh feels a little bit of pressure. So you can always bring your feet closer or farther apart. You can play with that. Okay, take a moment when you center in and bring the feet closer, tap onto the legs, so just at the thigh part that you can touch. It's hard to get all the way through the leg here when you're supine, but press and then get a ball, place it to the side of that upper outer left thigh. We know this one, we've been here before. So I like to keep my left foot, fairly close to my buttock, but it doesn't feel great on my knee if it's too close, okay? So, and most of us, we're not going to do anything we don't want to try to cause more tension there. So when you lift up the right foot with the anticipation to move it to the left knee, See if you can just hold that for a few moments. You can feel the curl of the spine curling. Okay, I can feel the lower arch in my back. And when I move my right foot and connect it to my left knee, I mean, I'm going to do habits, like my knee's going to shift in to get that ankle to make it easier. But once you get that right ankle to the left knee, just let your body, lower body, lean to the left all the way over there. Hold onto the right knee with the left hand and just kind of go into that circulation into the right hip. Okay, so anticipate there's something stretching there. If I let the bottom left foot kind of relax, so I turn to the side of the foot, it feels like, okay, I can ease, and maybe gravity moves me a little farther left. Maybe it works pretty good. So your right arm can relax down to the sides, or one side, and as your head relaxes back, just relate to the just inhalation, filter through the nose, and then exhalation, letting go. Yeah, I suppose if you reach down to the base of the spine, it is a few inches from the bolster, huh? Once you lower down, it slides on its own, so it's not going to be stuck to the bolster. Okay, now if that pull with the left hand is really helpful, you can keep that. I think it's useful for me. I mean, if I lower my left arm down, feel a little bit of pressure in my hip flexor on that left side, a little bit of pull. So you get to decide, is that okay? I like to hold on to the knee. It seems to stay with a focus on the right hip. Okay, now only so much longer here. Just feel a little bit more draw to the left side or towards you with your left hand holding the knee. It could be either. But see if you can connect into your hip. Right, so if I'm pulling the knee towards me and it feels like the side of my knee hurts, then that's not the right direction. And so we're all different, right, with that response. Okay. Before you come out, try like arching your spine, right? Of course, that's going to be lumbar focus, but try to feel kind of like you're moving your tailbone a little bit down. So there's a nice sense of circulation fully through that right hip, if you even want that. Okay, now when you do come out, let the arms shift, so you're going to go back into that alternating reach of the core. So come back, feet down, and then just bring, okay, I'm getting coordinated here. Okay, knees to the left, arms to the right. Just feel that swish. If you decide, I don't want to do any of this with the arms, you can have your arms to the sides and just windshield wiper the knees, okay? And the arms might be a bit extra than you need, but sometimes just kind of feel how that movement is in the obliques. Kind of nice. It may only be something we do today and never again, so just give it a try. Your body gets to check it out. Okay, now walk the feet in closer towards the seat. Take the ball to the upper outer right thigh. And then as you anticipate your left foot coming up to lift, kind of feel now, you can always hold your leg with both hands. Kind of help it. There's no problem with giving yourself a little bit of help. And then try to help get that ankle to the right knee. Maybe that's what everybody's doing. Okay. Now, if that left knee kind of leans out to the side, likely each side's going to respond a little different, right? A little different. So you might get closer to your bolster. If your spine is kind of sliding down, you might be just fine. It's okay. So remember, the ball is at the upper outer right thigh. If you don't have a ball, you could use like a rolled up towel. The block would be too harsh on your skin. It would just jab into you. Something soft. I mean, it could even be a sandbag. But as you lean, noticing how this thigh kind of sculpts outwards. So if I hold onto the knee with my right hand to the left knee, then I'm pulling across or towards me. And there's nothing wrong with not holding your knee. You could always just feel this variation Just be cautious because the side of the right foot is likely starting to spill a little bit. Right? You're letting your weight lean into that right foot. So when I hold on to the knee, the left knee, I happen to have 2 blocks over here that are stacked and my foot is on them, which actually is too easy now. You can use a block besides your mat to put your foot on if you need. And left arm is down or stretching behind you. Remember, sometimes more is not better. If it looks like more is happening, you might go with less and just secure the focus in the left hip. Okay, all this definition going on in the pelvis, right? This is all kind of pelvic floor focus, starting to push out through the core here. So take some caution here to not overdo it. Just do enough. Let the body receive kind of the nourishment from these therapeutic shapes. Okay. If your right side hip feels like it's hiking up or gripping, it's kind of having some challenge, you might just let go of the knee and just let the knee kind of shift a little bit down. You can always put the bottom of the right foot down and just keep that left knee moving away. That might be better for some. This is still a stretch. Still feel, especially my leg pit, it's kind of nice circulation into the kind of the core of the leg. Maybe that's what you meant with requesting. It was the core of the leg. What core? The core of my foot. Okay, so feel when that knee is across for some of us. And then as you come out of this one, I want us to put the ball, hopefully you got one. This is good to have, you know, a soft therapy ball. And then you'll place it under your left buttock. Take the ball so it's pretty high up on the outer corner of the left buttock, the border. And then as I lower down, I'm just going to move my hips side to side. They got to work in a collective, right? You can't just go one at a time on this one. They're connected. There's a pelvis. It's nice to use them in harmony to keep that strength into the pelvis, into the hips, and to find some harmony with the movement, especially when your feet are kind of glued to the floor, your upper body's sort of in reserve here. And so it's just this midsection that can swivel side to side. Swivel might not be the right word, but your movement is crossing from one hip to the next, wagging your tail. Okay? Now take the left leg to kick up. Just lift it up for a moment. Let the weight push into that ball. See if you can kind of move a little bit to the side of the leg, so closer to the upper outer thigh, greater trochanter. Some of us will still be on the border of the glute. And then just lower down and carefully lift the hips just slightly and then move the ball to the right buttock. And as you lower onto the ball, you're going to move your hips side to side. Okay. So if you're not sure, where is this ball supposed to be? My goodness. Well, it's really when you're lying on your back, right? Your ball, you want to use a pretty big one. If you have nothing but a tennis ball, it would be okay. But it's going to be intense. So in tennis ball, intensify. So press and move your hips side to side. Again, you can kick up the right leg, and that will push a little bit deeper. And you might like that. You might go, oh, okay, I like to lift my foot up, my leg lifting, and let the ball kind of nuzzle into your glute. Okay? And give it a few moments. And if you want to kind of rub out some of those knots on the other side again, give ourselves about 10 more seconds of free play. Recess. Tossing the balls out to recess. Okay. All right. Now, as we move our back to center, place the ball between the knees. Make sure that your back on that bolster as centered as you can be. Squeeze and release. Just simply squeeze the ball. Relax the grip. Squeeze. Okay. Now, bring the hands to the thighs. Keep the interaction for the pelvis. It's probably a little fluttery, right? You might have some kind of jitteriness when you squeeze because, hey, you know, a ball is responsive, right? There's a resistance when you squeeze in. So how far should you go? So make sure the feet are as parallel as you can tell. They're not turning in or out. And when you're squeezing in to the ball, see if you can hold that for a few moments. Breathe. Okay, and then release. All right. Now we're just going to roll to the side and we'll keep on the bolster. So I want you to just simply, let's say, go to the side and then take your belt, place it off to the side yard, and have a bolster under your front line here. So if you got an extra blanket, I would just go down to one blanket, unfold it so that it's, you want it at a pretty good height. You don't want to be too low with your head here. Because again, it's that rounding neck once again. So if it feels too low, you can always kind of bring it up again. I guess you could stack 2 blankets. So maybe I take that idea back, go back to 2, you choose. I know I'd eventually go down to 1. Okay, now stretch forward. If you've got a wall space, I want you to separate the knees so that you lower down and it's easy to be on the bolster. Okay, so feet reach into the wall, elbows are wide. It's tough to do this one with the elbows in Sphinx pose because you're going to probably cross your elbows like so. And then when you're down onto the bolster in the blankets, try to keep your head lifting. Okay, so feel how your feet touching the wall. I've got, a little baseboard here, so it's kind of an interruptive touch for my feet, but it works fine because when I push into the wall, I'm going to feel that natural support for my spine to arch up in the neck. So what I want you to work with is to, if you get tired, it's going to happen. You'll just bring your forehead to your hands. Okay, just keep in mind. So lift the right foot up at the wall. Try to keep that anchor so the hips are still centered. Okay, we're not in an environment where we're trying to, if we lose our balance, we're going to fall out of flight or something. But kind of get a feeling here when you're reaching with the right foot up. Just a little bit is enough. Lower the right foot down. Inhale, ribs expand into the bolster. And exhale, head comes down to the hands. Okay, now this time, lift the left foot up at the wall, and you can have your head stay down. If you want to lift your head up again, that's fine. But just kind of feel where the lift comes from, right? Is it from your lower back? Is there any orientation in the front of the thigh connecting deep into the abdominal character? You could say psoas, the character of the abdominals, I would think is psoas. Okay. Okay, now lower down, and now let the knees relax. So the legs are sort of straddling the bolster. If that just feels awkward, you can always slide the bolster farther up. So it's not really under the legs very much. That's fine. But your legs actually help you a lot with these core exercises. So arms are going to stretch besides your legs. Palms are towards the body. Try to push into your feet to get that lift up. I know the wall makes it so much easier. And if you don't have a wall, you get extra credit on this one. But reach the arms back. Inhale, lift your head, and then exhale, lower down. Elbows wide, head down to the hands. Okay, now slide the hands back besides the bolster. Fingers spread out wide. As you lift up with the chest, you're going to come back through table. And I want you to take your bolster all the way up on top of your blanket or blankets, whatever stack you have over there. And bring the knees to a little bit wider than hips distance. If you need a blanket or some sort of wedge under the knees for padding, use that. It's only temporary here. But take both hands up onto the bolster and get a pretty wild stretch in the armpit chest. Okay? I prefer this with my knees close together, like as close as I can get them. Then I feel this upper back really broaden. Let your head lower down. If this hurts in the neck, you can't stand that foot of block under your hairline. Okay, that can feel really nice. Yeah, use these options, okay? Don't go into something that's starting to feel painful here. So feel where that reaches with the arms. Okay, collect that in your inner telescope here. Okay, this is a reach I'm going to try to stay with. Okay, now lower the hands down, fingers spread out, and then toes under. Hook the toes under to stretch the bottom of your feet. Lift the knees up and stretch the heels back up at the wall. So again, we're not walking our feet up the wall today, but when we're stretching the chest, lengthening through the armpit chest. Okay. Breathe. Let your head nod a little side to side. You're going to feel full in the face, right? Lots of blood flow to the skin cells of the face here. A little bit of a cleanse here. It's spring cleanse. Okay, now, as you come back down, I want you to take an easy reach forward with your right foot. Some of you don't like to put your knee down between these motions, so you can step your foot forward. Some of us will lower our knees, but I want you to have a block set for your hands, okay? Just one block set. So right foot steps forward between the blocks, and you have a lunge, but let's take the back knee up, and we're gonna work in our obliques a little bit here. So my right foot is, well, hopefully it's parallel, and as my back heel reaches, I'm gonna lower and sink the heel towards the base of the wall. I'm gonna try. My calf is a little bit upset about it, but we'll see if it can stretch more. So the blocks can go higher. Okay, that's always a good option, is to lift it up. It's going to make it, it accommodates your hip and your core needs. So if my blocks go up, I don't round my back as much. Okay, so try to have this pretty wide. It's a big stance, right? This is a big step forward. It's not as far forward as you can possibly go, but it's reasonable and kind of customary for the hip. So I'm going to slide my right foot a little bit back because I kind of know, well, I might slide away. So bring the right hand to your sacrum. If this is bothering your wrist, what I'd recommend is kind of to use your fingertips, so you spider the fingers, and so you do less wrist pressure, and turn to the right, reach the right arm up. Oh, maybe not. That's a lot. And just feel where that rotation comes in the center of your body. Up. Breathing. Okay. All right, now lower the right hand down. And let's take a reach with that right knee. As I stretch the back heel up, I try to work with the, I guess elasticity of my foot is not really a good phrase, but you know, kind of the loosening up my foot. Okay, stretch it out. So as you lift up with the left heel, you're going to step it besides the right foot. Now, it's more than a heel. Your feet are more than heels, right? You've got the whole bottom space to press into. So as you lean forward, you decide. Like for me, right now, I'd like to have my bolster up to help me out. So I might just take the bolster, lift it up on its short end, and stretch here to my forward bend. And some of you might be farther down towards the legs. Some might take the feet farther out to a wider stance, almost to the edge of your mat. That's fine. You know, if you do that and you kind of move your hips a little side to side, right? It's the pathways we're doing, right? It's not the poses. It's like, so we want to feel the circulation in these pathways. So if movement of your hips is appropriate for loosening up, go for it. Or maybe stillness works for you. Just gravity having its way with extending our back line. Gravity will have you. Okay. Now, when we shift sides, we're going to take a really wide reach here. So I want you to have your hands onto the blocks, step the feet to each other, and then take the right leg to stretch back. Now, walk your blocks to the right side of your mat besides your left foot. So you're going to walk over to the right, turn so your right foot is against the wall, and you are in a wide stance. Okay, so you're as wide of an expansive forward bend as you could actually achieve. And you can place your hands far forward on the blocks. This is almost so much less pressure on a wrist than downward dog. So as I lean back, I'm just going to work the way for my armpits to stretch, the spine to have this wonderful, wonderful arch. Yeah, it's a great arch on this one. So feeling that sensation of legs big time. Let your head maybe nod a little side to side. Get another cleansing one. And then feel if you can just lift up a little bit, lean forward towards your blocks, and then possibly bring the hands back to your hips and bend the knees and just see if you can come up about halfway just to recruit your center vine of the spine. So I feel a lot of packed power in my legs right now, in my hips, but starting to work up through this midsection, and I'm just tipped forward. I'm not going to come all the way up. Okay, now reach back to your blocks, forward and down, and then turn to your left foot. Walk onto the left foot again and take that lunge. So we have the left foot parallel. Okay, reach it away from the wall. Take the right heel so it's a little bit up. It can go high as you like. And as the back heel is lifting or lowering, up to you, be sure the left knee is supported. So I like to manage my knee circulation so it's just above the ankle, maybe just a tiny bit forward of that. Left hand to the sacrum, reach it back. And then see if you can start to turn to the left, maybe straighten the left leg out and feeling that center body turn. Ooh, if you're getting a little bit shaky with it, don't go so far into the twist. You can always take your block under your right hand higher because it makes it a lot better. It's a little easier just to keep that rotation going through the back line. Breathing. Okay, it's going to help. Okay, feel the left leg go from trying to straighten out to bending. And then as you lower the left hand down to the block, good news. Bring the right knee down. Try to feel as the left leg stretches back. And I want you to take the bolster. You're going to have one block to the other side of your mat, but take your bolster. Take a simple supported upward dog. So my feet push into the wall, and I just reach my torso up. If this is a lot on your wrist, right, you can always lower down to your elbows. Just slide your blankie in and bring your forearms down and keep it here. This might even feel good to come down to in the next few moments after the hands push. Okay. So kind of feel my legs probably could do more to help me out, I'm assuming. So if you push into your feet and maybe straighten out the legs and then just lightly feel how you lift up at the chest. So baby back bends, whether you're still in up dog or you're not, I think coming down will be intelligent. But you can tell when you use your hands and you load into the hands, and then when you lower down and you don't work so much on the palms pushing, but the forearms, come down to a Sphinx pose, please. Just kind of feel how this is tummy time, right? So the first core exercises you ever did were these, right? So you can let the ribs move a little side to side. Relax the knees down. Slide the blanket in if you're not on it already, and then grab your other blanket. It's a good exercise just to be prone and just swim around for your core. Okay, take a block on the other side. If you don't do side stage with a block overhead, don't bother with the block. Don't worry about it. Okay, you'll know what you're going to use. But when you come back, get your sandbag, sit on your hip, get your sand, and then put it over to the left side of your bolster. If you're looking at the wall, that left side. I guess it's near your left knee. Okay. Ball for some of us. Okay, for this one. So we need bolster, blanket, sand, and ball for sure. Some of us a block. Get far enough away from the wall that you're not going to kick it. And then start to situate your hip. So my left hip, I've got the bent leg situation going on here. And my foot is touching to my right thigh. But when I lean in, I like to have a ball under the right knee. You can use your left foot to push it around. So once you get here, and then take sand on the side of the right upper leg root and reach over to the block. Okay. Right. The significance of this takes a few moments to get dialed in, I think, from what we were just doing. I think it felt pretty good to get that active motion and then get into some of the slower paced poses, I guess. We'll see. But as you have that reach with that right arm, it could be over, it could be reaching back, opening the chest a bit more, and even down by your side has a sense of reaching. And feel where the weight of your head relaxes on the blanket. So feeling what part of your head relaxes on the blanket. Now, if your arm is reaching overhead, probably the sensation of the weight of your head is so different. Kind of interesting, isn't it? So you could play with both kind of modalities of operating this one. But again, the key really is your hip and your sides, both sides. And the inside, I suppose you could say. So gain a little bit of reach with the right thigh. If you can use your left foot to kind of push the ball around so it works in the right spot for you, that might be necessary. But with breathing, that's like the primary focus is the inhalation and that temptation to feel how to get more inwards with the position, like focusing and feeling a sense of yourself improving. I guess some of us might feel like that when we do practice, like I'm only doing this if I'm going to feel like I'm improving. Okay, so I'm going to get somewhere. But internalizing and just trusting in kind of these poses, right? These shapes that have been going for a long time to use for benefit of circulation. And let the organs get that little bit of massage just by the pressure on the left side. Okay, now if the waist starts to turn towards the ceiling, that might be helpful for some of us, but for some it might be the other direction, like down to the left. So if I pivot down to the left, I feel more strain in my shoulder. If I pivot to the ceiling, it eases up quite a bit. Okay, it depends on your back circulation, how much you can strive. But the center of the body, gosh, it can always use more of this length, huh? With gravity, it just kind of keeps descending. Okay, so take your way into the shape between these sides that works for you. So I'm going to give some variations because I've got to guide you with something, right? But if you find none of those work for you, just do what you feel is helpful. Some people might go, oh my, I need to do a downward dog, or who knows, maybe walk around the room. But give a little bit of guidance with twisting, because we've got this side work. Sometimes twisting works in companionship with side stretches. So we're going to go to the twist companion part. So roll to the left and come on up. Twist companion. Come on up to sit on the bolster. And let's take it so really simple for our knee joints. I want this to be so easy for everybody can do it. So left leg is forward. So we'll start with the right side. The digestive tract on the right is the starting. Even if you don't have an ascending colon like me, you still are going to start that way. So right leg crosses over left. Right knee points up. Now, when I bring my leg in, it's like my back wants to round. So I've got to pull the chest forward using my hands, holding on below my knee. Now this could be considered like I'm pulling my knee. It's not twisting my knee, but it is pulling it. But we could say that's probably somewhat of a healthful thing to do. But if anything hurts, you just pass on it, right? So if you've got a wall under your foot, that would be ideal, okay? So I'm gonna scoot so my foot is pushing into the wall. This will be best for my spine, okay? Only comes to mind when I go, oh, there's a wall, I need that for my foot. So push into the foot. Now, if you can't push much, you're gonna miss out. So try to push into your left foot and then see if you can lift up with the heart and turn to the right. Reach the right hand back. A block might be really nice to have here under your hand. And hook the left elbow to the right knee and twist. Ooh, I can feel that. So it doesn't have to be a tricky looking hip opening twist to get what you need. Sometimes the basics are really good. So feel the rotation. This is called Marichyasana 1, right? So simple spinal twist. Okay, feeling how that foot is pressing. Okay, now see if you can bring both arms to stretch open. Use your foot to the wall. Try to keep that lower back in and lifting high gear. Come back center, open out. Bring the right foot forward to the wall. Shift it, left leg crosses over. This is our core challenge here. Moving leg without hand holding. If it doesn't work, get a hold of your leg. Okay, now turn to the left. Remember, you can hold your knee. Okay, you're the only one that gets to hold your knee right now. So if you want to hold a knee, hold a knee. But as you turn the foot to the wall, clearly will keep my knee pointing up. It's not going to twist my right knee. But as you push in, oh, there's always more I can do. I can work with lifting up from my inside up and turn. Yeah, you hear that phrase inside out all the time, huh? So right now it's kind of inside up. Okay, if the arm position is difficult on your shoulder, don't do this, right? You can always hold onto the left knee with your elbow cradling the leg. You can hold onto it just carefully under the knee. Some of us, this elbow pressure is going to pull up to the shoulder for whatever reasons, right? Sometimes it's a bad idea if it feels painful. If it doesn't, I would go with it so you can get that structure in the upper back kind of warmed up. So the areas that get kind of dehydrated, that feel kind of really tight, upper back. Okay, now breathing is going to help us. But your computer doesn't breathe for you. They haven't gotten there yet. Now when you come back center, let the shoulders roll, uncross, well actually cross the legs, roll your shoulders, really get that deep positioning into shoulder rolling. So shrugging and rolling. Even if you got some Rice Krispies that you're listening to in your shoulders. Okay, slide down the bolster, push it back, okay? Come to that side sage on the right hip. And as you start to lean, remember you've got a ball to the inside of the left thigh. It's good that we change these routines up often. Like we don't have a kind of a muscle memory that is going one, you've got pose 8 or something. No, we switch it up. So when we lean in, you get to delight in the feeling of the center, especially if you're sitting upright. It can feel nice to lengthen it out. Okay, left arm reaches overhead. If you opt out of that version, no problem. Arm could go anywhere that it stays connected to the shoulder. Okay, so if you have like a stool or a chair that's a little bit higher than the block, it can be quite nice, right? So as you lean into that right side, breathing and sensing that length. It could be only the side that you feel length. Like if it's like no area besides the side feels it great. It's a side space circulation pose, right? So it doesn't have to be anywhere else that you feel like. But certainly feel the weight into the hip. Breathe. Okay, now with that, feel kind of as you're trying to get your tail area to just slack. It's like sometimes using the sand can be so nice because you're going to get some traction. We could call it slaction. Slack and traction, slaction. Right, so you're kind of in relax mode here with this. Yep, stretching it out, just get that length. Okay, now when we come out, we're going to go upside down. Oh boy. So we're going to flip it upside down for all that circulation to the lungs, the heart. So take it slow. We'll just move our sand away. Nothing needs to be fast here. But when I roll to the right, I just try to use this mid body to get my movements. This is probably the best core stuff you can do. Just roll into the side. Try to get the center of the body to create movement like you're, what's that like? Think of like a jellyfish or something, out from the center, expanding out. Okay, now I come around and then I'm going to move a blanket away and then just have one. I don't worry about that block being there because I can move it when I get back. So I'm going to sit up on my bolster, place my ball to the side, lower back, and then that block is kind of ominous. Scoot the bolster so it's under the pelvis, and then bring the knees up, the feet off the floor, so you can decide, okay, this is the right placement. Now, placement is everything with these, okay? So the rule of the rib, right, is that I want these lower ribs to be kind of floating up, so I have a little bit of lift. So I want you to play for a moment with getting your belt, okay? Or maybe you'll be surprised and it's a sandbag handle. Heavy. Okay, get it all oriented here. Take a wide stance again. So take your belt up, feet wide, 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 wide. If you want to buckle up so you don't have to spend energy holding your belt, go for it. Sometimes that works out and sometimes it doesn't. And if you're trying to get your belt so it's a little bit more easy to move through the buckle, Penny, you might focus on that, right? How your buckles, the new Hugger Muggers are kind of extremely durable, but they're hard to move through the buckle. So as the feet push out wide, you want to have that emphasis of the draining of the leg pit here, the lymph drain, not the draining of the leg pit, but lymphatic drain. So you want this to be sort of soft, right? I don't want to make this like it's the most challenging ever leg stretch. So if you bring the feet a little closer, that's pretty good. I don't have to go far out. I don't want to feel my hips being pulled out. Okay. And then just let the feet go a little closer, slide. If you've got the belt buckle, I suppose that might be tricky to do all this, but take the feet together and lower the left leg down. Okay. Stretch it down. If you are fortunate to have a wall that you're touching, be happy. Be happy to touch wall. Okay. Now, we're going to get our belt connected, so buckle up. Okay. Now, actually, some of you put the belt around your ribs for this, so my mistake. So you can go into brain float or rib float or shoulder float. You decide. If you're going to use this method anyhow, you're probably going to need a sandbag on the left side regardless. So you want to get your weight and layer it down on the top of the left thigh, and then feeling that it drops the hip, right? It's kind of like It's kind of like a drop table of sorts. If you think about it, it drops my hip, but it stays. It's not like the drop table is going to go up and down here. So I never thought about that to this moment. So it's interesting. But as you take your belt, you can bring it around your head, but be careful it's not too tight. Meaning it's not too small of a loop. I want you to feel, you want it tight. You want the belt connected. Don't do this like me, right? You want to have the buckle so you can pull with that other, there we go. Now I can pull it, loosen it behind your head, please, or ribs, or hands. Okay. Yeah, and it's all fine, whether it's up at the foot to the head or the foot around the ribs. So as your arms open out, with the shoulders lower back, and just feature that length of the mid-spine up to the brainstem, regardless of where the belt is around. It doesn't have to be around the center of the back of your head, which for most of us, it's a little bit lower. It's around the occiput, so I think of it as the shelf at the back of my head that works for the belt. Belt on a shelf, okay. It's the belt on the brain shelf pose. As the right hamstring gets pretty interested in the experience, you can bend the knee. You can kind of play with it. You can let your head go a little bit side to side, but breathing. Okay, now switch sides. Focus specifically to switch sides. So when you take the belt, shift it. If it's around your ribs, you don't have to shift anything but your foot that's in the belt, right? All you do is take the foot up if the belt's around the ribs. And then if it's under your head, I would take it off for a moment, move the sand so it's not so awkward. It's awkward anyway, isn't it? And the belt, now again, the second side could have a different reaction. Your hamstring might feel, not even hamstring, but it could be neck, it could be just a different association with the side of the pelvis. So it'd probably be leg and just above leg where you feel the difference. When your head is reaching back into that belt, maybe let the right leg release down. Let your arms space open. And you simply receive the circulation. And keep it simplified where the span of time, I think, sometimes matters for us, I suppose. But see if you can just delight in just the circulation from this shape. Relaxing your breath. Reaching towards the back of your head. If your hands are overhead, you can move it back center. If your belt is around the ribs, yeah, just start to unbuckle there and loosen it up so you can slide your foot gradually out of the belt. So I want you to move your sand, bend the left knee, take the belt off your foot and just bring both legs straight up and shake them out. do a little bit of, obviously shaking, tapping is all good for the lymphatic system, but a little bit of a kind of a dead bug, a little bit of shake out. All right, so let me see all those dead bug leg looks. Okay, grab a ball, place it between the knees, and we could take this more seriously. All right, so ball between the knees, and I think generally my knee reaction is to bend, and I think it could be just the contour of a ball, right? It's round, and you know, if I try to straighten out the legs, it's actually more, it's useful for my core, right? If my legs are straightened up, that's your primary core strengtheners in Iyengar yoga is the Viparita Karani pose, right? That's your first core strengthener. So this is a good one. So if you're trying to work a little bit on that, you know, we'll find a really fun one soon with this idea. So bend the knees, arms open, and just knees go side to side. Get along with the program here. So side to side motions. If the hip kind of lifts up, great. Right? If you kind of go over and then it lifts up, and just kind of feel that pressure into the kidneys. It is a little pressure in the digestive organs here, isn't it? I mean, that's a pretty massive area in our body. So it takes a lot of space in there. Kind of keeps us alive, huh? So, you know, for better or worse, how things go there, but you want to feel when you move your knees to the side that there is a little lower back connection. There's a nice sense of circulation in my back. So I don't have to push my knees as far over sometimes, just squeezing the ball. Okay, take that for the next few times. Just feel when your knees go to the side, you squeeze the ball. Okay, you relax the squeeze in the center, and you go to the side and you squeeze the ball. Now, if we're working okay, right, working properly, the lower back won't hurt when we do that. But it's an interesting kind of indicator when we go through things that are indicating things that could be happening. So when I go side to side, I can feel my back spaces a bit, but I also, since I'm supine, I can feel my front space kind of working in the centerpiece of the body. So now when you start to come down out of this one, I want you to have your blanket in a pretty low fold. Okay, so I'm gonna unfold the blanket so it's really low. It's not under my shoulders, just my head, maybe a little bit down my neck because I like that. It feels kind of soft. You know, but it's probably no good there. It's probably best just about the occiput and up. So the shelf. Knees in, carefully. Push the bolster away. Okay, now as I let my feet lower down the bolster, what I want you to find is that your feet, even from as much of the foot feels established on the bolster. Kind of notice the feet kind of curl around it. Bolsters aren't, you know, like a block. Okay, now my bolster is close enough and my back muscles are close enough into this position that I basically, if I remove my bolster, my knees would be pretty much towards my chest, like this, pretty much, maybe a couple inches different. Okay, so notice this, hands down by the sides of the hips, palms down. Part of this is restoring things, right? So that's what we're called here, we're restorative. So I want you to let the lower back, try to flatten it out here. Just flatten it a little bit. Okay, bring the knees in towards the chest. Only as far as it will just easily go. There's no rewards if you touch your heart with your ball or anything. Boo, no rewards. All right. Okay, now we're going to try to lift the legs up with the ball at the sacrum. So we got to move it. But first things first, just kind of go, okay, I've got a sacrum, base of my spine, check. I kind of know where that is. So when I remove the ball, I'm not going to magically levitate. Okay, but I want you to feel that when the feet touch down, that you're just going to do kind of a dull lift. It's not like you're going to do some impressive bridge flow. Just push, lift, only lift the amount you have to. Don't lift more than that. And just get the ball next to the buttock, really just so it's kind of pushing. It's pushing your clothes, right? And you'll move the ball to the base of the spine, right at that tail. Like it's more tailish, right? Okay. Now, I'm going to center down the ball so my spine feels like it's flexing. And I'm going to work both of my legs to go straight up. This is a good one if you just go slowly into it. Don't spend the energy on just jabbing the ball and just trying to kick your legs up and be all fiery on it. Just let your lower back track there. Okay? So the legs are going to separate a little bit, but now feel if you can arch the spine, press the tailbone into the ball. So a little bit more of the ribs lifting, hands by the sides will help you out. You can do robot arms even better. And then try to lengthen the spine. So it's like cat-cow, but on your back, right? This is more like kitty-calf because it's pretty small. Okay, and so your legs are going to move a little bit when your spine is arching, okay? So it's just that small movement of the spine arching, so the feet move a little down, and then flexing. It's really great. I love this kind of stuff. Really simple lower abdominal strengthening. Okay. Now taking the right knee in, hold on to the back of the thigh, let the left leg lower down. Remember, there's a wall there probably, so be careful. Don't kick the wall too hard. And then as you lower down, just hover over the bolster. I want to touch the bolster to see how far. Okay, take the leg up, left leg, and then switch sides, bend the left leg. Remember, don't go as far down with the leg that's reaching if it's really shaky. So we're going to be a little bit shaky on this one. Okay. And then switch, one more each side. Whoever's not shaky at all could be the host right now. Should we switch? I could change that if anybody wants to host it. Okay, last one. Left leg in, right leg stretches down. If you're not on the same side, don't worry, there's only two sides. Just try to get a little on each side with alternating. Okay, now bring both legs up again. Okay, take your time, shaky as could be. Okay, feel what's the best place for your back. Is it flexing? Is it arching? You got to figure out what works for you. I think where I feel my lower abdominals working is the flexing. So I'll let my legs kind of swing up. Somewhere in between is good. Now bend the knees fully, lower the feet down, and then as you lift up your hips, you're going to put the ball under the left buttock and massage into the glute. So this lower front area might feel like, oh, my lower abdominals might be a little tender, little workout there. So just take it easy. Your back line gets a little massage into the glute. Just let the hips kind of push around, but go side to side. Keep it simple. Don't have to be especially creative with it. Okay. Now, what about rolling more on the bottom? Right, you could push your hip out and just let the ball roll. What's rolling the ball is your coordination, right? So if it's kind of tricky, just keep playing with it. It definitely gets better, okay? It's not like juggling, but that would be the same thing, practicing. But it gets better with feeling the prop and then just using that to massage your glute area, okay? Okay, now go to the other side. And as you are massaging the area, remember the wider, softer ball, it's it doesn't bully your muscles, right? So your nervous system should not really respond with bracing and tightening and ow. It kind of glides across the tissues. It flushes it. It creates a lot of movement of fluids around the tissues. So clearly that's good for our lymph, our immune system. So rolling, I think, is really good. I'm kind of getting into rolling. More with the ball because it goes on tissue areas and you can use them in your mid-body, your core. You can lie on your belly with the ball and massage into the digestive tract. All kinds of things you can do. Softer ball is pretty easy peasy, right? Not going to hurt. Okay, now when you come around, I want us to try just get into a bridge pose. So let's lower the spine. If you need to bring your knees to your chest, I wait for it till we get to where we should do it for our back. Your back is probably still pretty warm right now. So use its strength. So push the bolster to the right side of your mat, and then you're going to scoot down. So grab your blanket and take a scoot down towards the wall. Okay. If you don't have a wall, you use your bolster under your feet, so you don't have to move down to the wall. Okay. Now, how far do I go? Well, I'm just going to go down close enough that my feet can walk up the wall. That's all, which still is farther down than you were a few moments ago. Okay. Now, take a block. I'm just going to use one on this because my other block's too far. Okay. So foot and knees are working with the feet. Funny enough, right? They are sort of connected all the time. So what your feet are doing matters for your knees here. So when you lift your hips up, I want you to use the wall to push into so you can get higher on the spine. If you feel like, wait a minute, I've been gypped on the spine massage, you can lift and lower for a while. You just lift and lower, 3 or 4 times. But it might be okay for you to work on the strength here and place the block under the back of the pelvis. I like this when I go second setting, block goes across. Okay. Some people want the block higher, which, well, that's going to be a good stretch too. But I'm just going to let my feet either stay here for the lower abdominal work, right? Lower abdominals. Maybe you walk your feet down. And if you feel like, wait, I need more height under my hips to get the hip flexors to stretch, which is going to be part of the core, you could use 2 blocks stacked on top of each other. But you might be able to finagle it if you're close enough to the wall that you can lift up the hips and turn the block to the highest setting. Now, this can work really nice for the hip flexor stretch, but for some of us, it's not our rear that's having a tough time, it's the flexibility of the lumbar. So it's not like it's an achievement you have to explore. If it's too much and it hurts, don't do it. Maybe stacking 2 blocks might be better for you today. But as the shoulders move back, the nice thing about this much height is it definitely pours and moves the circulation of blood flow back to my upper, right, my lungs, my upper lobes, clearing out fluid, right? Obviously, my endocrine glands get that nice little squeeze and circulation. They usually only get that squeeze and circulation like when we're eating, swallowing, circulation moves in that area. But we don't do a whole lot of this, right? This Jalandhara Bandha, this pushing and circulation in the throat. So arms are moving down by the sides, whatever height your hips are. If you don't like this with your feet on the floor, bring the feet up on the wall. Perfect. I like that a lot. The rush to the chest muscles is pretty interesting. And the brain, bigger piece. Because it is bigger. Okay, now as I push into my feet, I'm going to lift up my hips, slide the block or blocks out, and start to get ready to lower down the spine here. It just goes, doesn't it? Okay, great. Now, scoot a little bit back. Blanket is going to fold one more time if your blanket was flat, and then you can scoot back to it. And you don't need to go that far. Your bolster's on the right side of your mat. You're going to swing the left leg over to the bolster. Okay? If you've got a ball, place it at the sacrum area. And if you've got a sandbag on the outer left thigh, maybe. Some of us, this is plenty. We don't need the sand. It's good right here. But some just love to have sand on the side of the leg. Now, if this is not the version for you, because I know some in here, this is not the version that works for them. Some are going to have the bolster at the base. So this is another one. The feet are on the bolster, right? Cross the left leg over the right leg, knees to the right. Ball, maybe. Sand, maybe. This is good too. I mean, there are days I go, wow, this is a pretty good one. So you decide, bolster on the side, bolster below. But as you arrive with this lower spinal, I still want you to really notice that your twists come from the mid-spine, so careful. The lower back has a nice arch. If you put your fingers to that low back, you can feel that it's really archy. Okay? The ribs are going to do the movement here with the the hip opener. Left arm open, chest wide, breathe. A few moments here, your head can roll left. Some people like their head right in center the whole time. Just respecting that reaction internally as you slow way down. Okay, now as we shift, go slow with the reaction in the legs. So since the legs are pulling things around, right? The legs are a large part of the action in the mid-body. And so as I take the ball or this ball and the sand, I want to switch. So I'm going to bring the knees back into center, uncross through the legs. Now, if you have the bolster on the side, move it over to the left side of your mat. If you have the bolster under your feet, you decide this one's going to work for you today. Cross the right leg over the left leg, and then bring your left foot at the bottom. It's going to slide a little to the right side of the bolster, and the knees are going to go left. Okay? Now you can kind of feel there's a bit of a tourniquet effect, right? With that little bit of squeeze, knees swing to the left side. Right, the ball at the back of the pelvis. Now, if you don't use the bolster at the feet, just push it. Remember, it's to the side of your mat. Your leg reaches over to it. And there's probably at least 3 of us in here that use bolster at the feet. So if you want to go to that one, that's great. If you want to switch it around. So arm is open. If you're using the sand, remember it can go on the side of that right thigh. Closer to the knee for some. Most of us will probably go, no, I'm going to stay on my hip because that's weight bearing for my hip, right? It'll still be a little weight bearing even if you slide it down. It feels maybe better for some because it's creating that resistance, right? That's what we do with the poses, right? We're creating resistance. We especially did that today when we did our standing poses, right? You know, pushing up from the earth, trying to create movement through the ribs and the arms. Okay, head maybe rolls to the right, you choose. You know, feel if there's any rib movement, low rib area. If it's kind of caught in a twist, reasonably so, feel the breathing through the nose. If it's congested, breathe how you have to breathe because you got to keep that going. But feel how there's reaction inside to stretch open, right? So inside outward stretching. Use the breath as a stretching tool. Okay, now slide the sand, if it's there, away, and then certainly the ball. And now we're going to roll to the side. Now, again, don't shock the sacrum. It's gone twist, twist, and then it's going to arch again. So if you find, okay, I've done my 2 twists, I need to pull my knees in and do that. But if it feels okay and you can still feel that length in the spine occurring, just keep going with it because we're going to try to fully lengthen it. So we roll to the fetal position on the side. Come on up. I guess staying in the fetal position would be stay. Slide a blanket in next to a wall, and you're gonna then put your bolster right up against the base of the wall. Okay. I know, we're getting a Viparita Karani, the best. Okay, sandbag nearby. If you're gonna use an eye pillow, go get that, or a covering for the eyes. And then you're gonna sit up at the bolster. Now, if you're sitting on the bolster, you're on the side, on the edge of the bolster on one end, and then you're gonna lower your upper body down first, and then roll. The hips are gonna move to get your legs up. You know, you gotta identify, you had all these isolation tactics in class, so find a way to then feel that the leg lifting is supporting that harmony into the heart. This is a really nice, you could say a heart harmony inversion. Okay. Most for the heart health, right? This is what we're up to. Even if you don't feel like it's some ba-boom, ba-boom, it should slow it down. Okay, should slow it down. It definitely will lower the blood pressure. So don't jump up all of a sudden if you have to run, right? You want to go slow to get up. Okay, so bend your knees. And if you've got a sandbag and you have some challenge getting it on the feet, that's realistic. You can try to toss it onto the feet. If you decide, oh, this whole sand thing is just crazy, you can always go minus the sand. Okay? All right, maybe there's someone around that can put it on for you. Now, with that center of the body gently easing, right? It's not as if I'm trying to pull like the body like taffy or anything. It is like that in some way with gravity, though. So the pelvic floor has this wonderful opposite of prolapse experience. So even if I don't have sand on my feet, I'm just still going to get a great experience here from my leg being upside down and then reversing that flow back to the pelvis, to the belly organs, and then the kidneys are pressed into in the back. Get your arms open out. If you have an eye pillow, it's probably already getting placed upon your eyes. And if you don't, just let your eyelids be your natural eye pillows. You know, just kind of notice, how do you use your eyelids? How do you close and soften the face? And just feel where there's the spreading of the ribs out and that gentle pulse through the belly. See if you can receive that circulation beat. As you in-breath, the ribs expand and the belly flows up, which is the diaphragm movement. And as you out-breath, just let gravity be your interpretation of the movement. Just let it flow. Most essentially on the out-breath. Cleansing, releasing. Now try feeling this for a few without the sand. So if you already are without it, you get to continue for a few moments. But sand-free legs are upside down. Reverse action. The feet might be a little tingly, a little cool. That's a good sign that the blood is doing what it's supposed to do. It's moving from the extremities, and then it's back to the vital organs, the heart. It returns the blood back to the heart. So it reverses the effects of gravity on the heart. Okay. Now with the pelvis resting, this is tricky, right? You want to just feel when the knees bend. It serves a purpose to kind of flex through that back and pile on some circulation into my core. But as you kind of wriggle your way out of this, you get to roll out how it's comfortable. So if you go left, you go right, you go, well, this feels like the direction to go. Maybe always the same way, who knows? But when you roll, try to get the knees as close to the heart as you can. It depends on the flexibility right in the back. And then roll. And as you're in a little pile, see if you can come around to take a seat. Find where the hips are in their interesting center, right? They're not pushed in closer. You want to feel like there's a little bit of width, which might help your centerpiece of the body feel centered. Okay. Bring the hands to rest either in your lap or down to the knees. You kind of feel my hands are center of the legs or they're out to the knees. Just feeling that connection of sitting and the heart lifting, the head moving back, the natural, wonderful arch of the spine. Okay, and that connects us back to the heart. So bring the hands to the space in front of the heart and just feeling how the ribs, they are protecting all that inside environment, certainly protectors. So feel the ribs expand on your inhale. Flexibility around the heart. And as you exhale, bowing into that space behind your heart. And gratitude.